it chapter by chapter, one bite at a time. So many adventures and mountains we can climb. Take it word for word, line by line, one bite at a time.
Welcome to Bite at a Time Books, where we read you your favorite classics one bite at a time. My name is Bree Carlile, and I love to read, and wanted to share my passion with listeners like you. If you want to know what's coming next and vote on upcoming books, sign up for our newsletter at biteatatimebooks.com. You'll also find our new t-shirts in the shop, including podcast shirts and quote shirts from your favorite classic novels. Be sure to follow my show on your favorite podcast platform so you get all the new episodes. You can find most of our links in the show notes, but also our website, biteatatimebooks.com, includes all of the links for our show, including to our Patreon to support the show, and YouTube, where we have special behind the narration of the episodes. We're part of the Bite at a Time Books Productions Network. If you'd also like to hear what inspired your favorite classic authors to write their novels, and what was going on in the world at the time, check out the Bite at a Time Books Behind the Story podcast, wherever you listen to podcasts. Please note, while we try to keep the text as close to the original as possible, some words have been changed to honor the marginalized communities who've identified the words as harmful, and to stay in alignment with Bite at a Time Books' brand values. Today we'll be continuing Les Miserables by Victor Hugo. Chapter 4. Details concerning the cheese dairies of Pontellier. Now, in order to convey an idea of what passed at that table, we cannot do better than to transcribe here a passage from one of Mademoiselle Baptistine's letters to Madame Beauchevron, wherein the conversation between the convict and the bishop is described with ingenious minuteness. This man paid no attention to anyone. He ate with the voracity of a starving man. However, after supper he said, "Monsieur le Curé of the good God, all this is far too good for me. But I must say that the carters who would not allow me to eat with them keep a better table than you do." Between ourselves, the remark rather shocked me. My brother replied, "They are more fatigued than I." "No," returned the man, "they have more money. You are poor, I see that plainly. You cannot be even a curate. Are you really a curé? Ah, if the good God were but just, you certainly ought to be a curé." "The good God is more than just," said my brother. A moment later he added, "Monsieur Jean Valjean, is it to Pontellier that you are going? With my road marked out for me." I think that is what the man said. Then he went on, "I must be on my way by daybreak tomorrow. Traveling is hard. If the nights are cold, the days are hot. You are going to a good country," said my brother. "During the Revolution, my family was ruined. I took refuge in Franche-Comté at first, and there I lived for some time by the toil of my hands. My will was good. I found plenty to occupy me. One has only to choose. There are paper mills, tanneries, distilleries, oil factories, watch factories on a large scale, steel mills, copper works, 20 iron foundries at least, 4 of which situated at Lodz, at Chatillon, at Audincourt, and at Berre, tolerably large. I think I'm not mistaken in saying that those are the names which my brother mentioned. Then he interrupted himself and addressed me. Have we not some relatives in those parts, my dear sister? I replied, We did have some, among others Monsieur de Lucenet, who was captain of the gates at Pontellier under the old regime. Yes, resumed my brother, but in '93 one had no longer any relatives. One had only one's arms. I worked. They have, in the country of Pontellier, whither you are going, Monsieur Valjean, a truly patriarchal and truly charming industry, my sister. It is their cheese dairies, which they call fruitiers. Then my brother, while urging the man to eat, explained to him with great minuteness what these fruitières of Pontellier were, that they were divided into two classes. The big barns, which belong to the rich, and where there are 40 or 50 cows, which produce from 7,000 to 8,000 cheeses each summer, and the associated fruitières, which belong to the poor. These are the peasants of mid-mountain who hold their cows in common and share the proceeds. They engage with the services of a cheesemaker, whom they call Gurin. The Gurin receives the milk of the associates 3 times a day, and marks the quantity on a double tally. It is toward the end of April that the work of the cheese dairies begins. It is towards the middle of June that the cheesemakers drive their cows to the mountains. The man recovered his animation as he ate. My brother made him drink that good Mauves wine, which he does not drink himself because he says that wine is expensive. My brother imparted all these details with that easy gaiety of his with which you are acquainted, interspersing his words with graceful attentions to me. He recurred frequently to that comfortable trait of Gurin, as though he wished the man to understand, without advising him directly and harshly, that this would afford him a refuge. One thing struck me. This man was what I have told you. Well, neither during supper nor during the entire evening did my brother utter a single word, with the exception of a few words about Jesus when he entered, which could remind the man of what he was, nor of what my brother was. To all appearances, it was an occasion for preaching him a little sermon, and of impressing the bishop on the convict so that a mark of the passage might remain behind. This might have appeared to anyone else who had this unfortunate man in his hands to afford a chance to nourish his soul as well as his body, and to bestow upon him some reproach seasoned with moralizing and advice, or a little commiseration with an exhortation to conduct himself better in the future. My brother did not even ask him from what country he came, nor what was his history, for in history there's a fault, and my brother seemed to avoid everything which could remind him of it. To such a point did he carry it that at one time, when my brother was speaking of the mountaineers of Pontellier, who exercise a gentle labor near heaven, and who, he added, are happy because they are innocent, he stopped short, fearing lest in this remark there might have escaped him something which might wound the man. By dint of reflection, I think I've comprehended what was passing in my brother's heart. He was thinking, no doubt, that this man, whose name is Jean Valjean, had his misfortune only too vividly present in his mind, that the best thing was to divert him from it and to make him believe, if only momentarily, that he was a person like any other by treating him just in his ordinary way. Is not this, indeed, to understand charity well? Is there not, dear madame, something truly evangelical in this delicacy which abstains from sermon, from moralizing, from allusions? And is not the truest pity when a man has a sore point not to touch it at all? It has seemed to me that this might have been my brother's private thought. In any case, what I can say is that if he entertained all these ideas, he gave no sign of them from beginning to end. Even to me he was the same as he is every evening, and he supped with this Jean Valjean with the same air and in the same manner in which he would have supped with Monsieur Gédon le Provost, or with the curate of the parish. Towards the end, when he had reached the figs, there came a knock at the door. It was Mother Gerbaud with her little one in her arms. My brother kissed the child on the brow and borrowed 15 sous, which I had about me, to give to Mother Gerbaud. The man was not paying much heed to anything then. He was no longer talking, and he seemed very much fatigued. After poor old Gerbaud had taken her departure, my brother said grace, then he turned to the man and said to him, "You must be in great need of your bed." Madame Magloire cleared the table very promptly. I understood that we must retire in order to allow this traveler to go to sleep, and we both went upstairs. Nevertheless, I sent Madame Magloire down a moment later to carry to the man's bed a goatskin from the Black Forest which was in my room. The nights are frigid, and that keeps one warm. It is a pity that this skin is old. All the hair is falling out. My brother bought it while he was in Germany at Tottlingen, near the sources of the Danube, as well as the little ivory-handled knife which I use at table. Madame Magloire returned immediately. We said our prayers in the drawing-room, where we hang up the linen, and then we each retired to our own chambers without saying a word to each other. Thank you for joining Bite at a Time Books today, while we read a bite of one of your favorite classics. Again, my name is Bree Carlile, and I hope you come back tomorrow for the next bite of Les Miserables. Don't forget to sign up for our newsletter at biteatatimebooks.com and check out the shop. You can check out the show notes or our website, biteatatimebooks.com, for the rest of the links for our show. We'd love to hear from you on social media as well.